Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. I am your host, Gage Rozier. Today's episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, TeamBuildr can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuildr.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to Big Time Strength. Appreciate you tuning in this week. I wanted to start this week's show by just saying thank you. You know, me and Coach Preston have been kind of eyeing a download goal for our podcast the last 2-3 weeks that we were creeping up on, and we finally passed it last week, and it's because of all of our awesome listeners and you guys sharing the podcast, and it's pretty humbling, to know that you guys are getting something out of it and the good reviews we're getting, and we're just taking so much from just the interviews themselves, learning from these great coaches, and that we get to just basically record it and upload it and get it to you guys as well is an awesome thing. So I really appreciate it. If you guys can subscribe, like, share the podcast, visit our website, bigtimestrength.com. Coach Preston put together, and we're going to start putting out some more articles on that and kind of help put out some resources on how to do big time strength at a small school setting. So just want to say thank you for all your support. This week, we're going to jump right into our resource review. The resource review section is brought to you by Optimum Nutrition's athletic program. So protein is key to muscle recovery, and Gold Standard 100% Whey, the world's best-selling whey protein, provides 24 grams of protein that mixes easily using just a glass and spoon. Gold Standard 100% Whey is made in Optimum Nutrition's state-of-the-art facilities in Aurora, Illinois, and is banned substance tested by Informed Choice. You can also get Pro Gainer for big athletes looking to become even bigger and ready to eat protein snacks, including protein crisp bars, cake bites, wafers, and almonds. After dominating the sports nutrition industry for over 30 years, this new company, Optimum Nutrition Athletics, brings the same trust and quality that knows how to put convenient options for protein in the hands of athletes who desire to become bigger, stronger, and better at their sport. Really appreciate them sponsoring our show. This week's review is a book called Leadership in Turbulent Times, and I haven't seen this one amongst the typical book sharing that everybody does on Twitter, the 7 days books thing. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody post about this one, and it's one of my favorite ones, largely due to I'm a history. My undergrad's in history, actually, and I just love, especially like Civil War period and forward. And what this book does is she looks at 4 different presidents. It's Abraham Lincoln, my favorite, Theodore Roosevelt, FDR, and Lyndon Johnson. And she talks about just kind of 4 different periods of each of their lives, just kind of growing up, and kind of getting elected through hard times, post-presidency, and how they shaped themselves as leaders and led the country. And there's so many great lessons to be learned from it. I highly suggest you looking at it, especially if you're a coach who enjoys history. It's an awesome read. So today I want to share just some thoughts about Abraham Lincoln. He's my favorite president. I love the Civil War period, and we'll kind of just share some. This is kind of the first part about Abraham Lincoln, kind of his upbringing, what made him such a great leader. And I think it kind of is very relevant and hits a lot of things that a lot of other leadership books hit. So I'll just read a couple bullet points of notes that I have on it. So he had the motivation and willpower to develop every talent he possessed to the fullest. When talking about his mind, everybody said he had a brilliant mind. What appeared as a gift, he argued, was in case a developed talent. He developed his mind from reading and such things, not just he was gifted with it. He had a profound sense of empathy, the ability to put himself in the place of others, to imagine their situations and identify with their feelings. He made things happen instead of wait for things to happen. This is a direct quote from him. I'll study and get ready, and then the chance will come. When he was ignorant on any subject, no matter how simple it might make him appear to his fellow people, he was willing to acknowledge it, take ownership of that. A willingness to acknowledge errors and learn from his mistakes. He had to finally develop sense of timing, knowing when to wait and when to act. And then the last direct quote from him was, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other one thing." So those are briefly some of the notes I took from this first section, and I took a lot from that about just I want to be all those things, and I think all those things are great leadership characteristics that he had that made him such a great president. So, all right, that's a resource review. Again, it's called "Leadership in Turbulent Times" by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Check it out. It's a great read outside of strength conditioning, but we can certainly take a lot from as coaches. Okay, so today, guys, I'm really excited about this episode. Coach Cori Metzgar, she's at Western Oregon. I believe it's her 8th year there. She is an awesome coach. I had the privilege of listening to her talk at the CSCCA a few years ago and was just blown away then, and she brought it in this one as well. You're going to take a lot of great information from it. She shares a little bit about growing up as a female and some of the challenges that brought and how she handled it, and gives some advice. A female in a male-dominated realm is what I'm referring to, or industry, and she gives some advice to young female strength coaches and just coaches in general. And she just a great episode here from Coach. So really appreciate her coming on. Hope you enjoy the episode. Again, thanks guys so much for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and visit our website at bigtimestrength.com. Enjoy. Hey, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on the Big Time Strength podcast. Why don't you get us started and take us a little bit through your journey through strength conditioning so far and where you're at right now.
Yeah, I started as a D2 athlete in Colorado. Ski raced and played soccer at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. And while there, I had a bad ski racing accident and broke two vertebrae in my back and couldn't ski race anymore, couldn't play soccer. So I started working for my strength coach there, Dale Lloyd, who had been at Nebraska with Boyd Epley back in the day. And I mean, we're talking a long time ago. And so he was kind of instrumental in getting me where this is my office. Yeah. He was kind of instrumental in getting me getting my GA position at Western Michigan. And, that was back in the time when strength and conditioning was not really hugely known about, especially collegiate strength and conditioning. And so I was kind of fortunate enough to get hired on at Western Michigan as a GA, and graduated from Fort Lewis in December of 98 and started my GA January 4th or something of 1999, and spent 2 years there, almost 2 years there, and then got hired on at Ohio State. And while at Ohio State, I was fortunate enough to work under Coach Anthony Glass, and he kind of it was probably the hardest year of my life with him, but it was the most beneficial. Kind of really learned a lot about my philosophy, his, my leadership style, coaching style, and just really developed my passion for strength and conditioning. And he was very instrumental in that. And to this day, he's just a big part of my life. And so, I remember when I took the job at Colorado State after Ohio State, and I was at a going away party for when I was leaving there, and this football coach, he said, "So what do you want to do with your career? You're just getting started. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to be a director of strength and conditioning, and eventually, and he said, well, that's not, probably not going to happen." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Well, there's never going to be a female in charge of football for strength and conditioning." And I kind of just laughed it off, but that kind of really resonated with me, in that was the kind of the tone. And I don't really think he meant it, bad, but at the time there wasn't, Meg Ritchie Stone was the only female who had been, and that had been years before. And so, the truth of the matter was that there weren't any females over football in the collegiate setting. And so, kind of, it wasn't like I was going to say I'm going to be a director of strength and conditioning for football just to spite people. It was football truly was one of my passions, along with a lot of other sports. And so I got the assistant job at Colorado State and went out there. And after my first year, the head strength coach stepped down, and then the associate head, he took a job at Clemson. And so it was left with me in charge. There's only 3 of us, so for the summer work. And an associate AD came to me and said, we're going to put a GA football coach in charge of football strength and conditioning for the summer. And I looked at him and said, if you do that, you'll have my resignation on your desk tomorrow. And he kind of, he said, wait, you want to work with football? You think you can work with football for the summer? And I said, absolutely. And so the next day I met with Sonny Lubick, the head football coach at Colorado State, and he said, do you want to work with football this summer until we hire, a director? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, I have complete faith in you. And that was kind of my entry into working with football directly. And from there, it's just, I've worked with football everywhere I've been until I got to Western Oregon and where I became director over all the sports and football especially. So that's kind of been my journey and why I'm where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you, explaining some of the background within there. And going off that, do you have any advice for young female strength coaches who may face similar situations and certain doubts from people?
I think, everyone's different. And I think that the biggest thing that I tell all strength coaches that I'm mentoring, but, especially females, is that you have to follow what you want to do. And if your passion is baseball or your passion is football or whatever it is, you have to make sure that you're getting the experience you need to be the best strength coach for that, for that sport. And you also need to be confident in yourself and your abilities. I think that's the one thing that has helped me along the way is that I've never really cared what people think about me, as long as they think that I'm doing, the best job where I'm at and for the sport that I'm working with. And if I don't know the sport that I'm, much about the sport I'm working with, then I find out. I'm at every practice. I'm talking to the coaches, kind of being as annoying as possible, but trying to learn as much as I can. So I think that, my advice is to be true to who you are and not care so much about what people think of you and what they may say, because you're going to, especially be, a female in a man's world, you're gonna get naysayers, and that's the thing that you just have to kind of not ignore, but not worry about.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And so, Coach, you've been there at Western Oregon for 5 or 6 or 7 years now. Is that right?
This is my 8th year.
Awesome, 8th year. So, how would you describe the culture of your program?
I think the culture of our program is, it's a very positive atmosphere, but the kids also know that I think that there's not a fear of being in here, but there is a fear of disappointing us. They know that we're a big part of their athletic success, and that we can play a big part in that, and that I would say the culture is very much that we are going to train hard. It's going to be, the hardest time of their life in here, but it's also going to be the most rewarding time. And so we're very animated. We train very fast. We train very intense. And I think that my hope is they walk out of here with a feeling of accomplishment and feeling proud of themselves. And that's, very, very important to me.
And I'm always interested to see, especially coaches who have been in a place for a while. Maybe do you have some thoughts on maybe what the culture is like when you got there and where it's at now, and that road in between of the ups and downs, if you know what I'm saying? Maybe some thoughts
absolutely.
on that process.
Yeah, when I first got here, there was not a strength and conditioning department. So I was the first strength and conditioning coach to to start here and kind of develop the program. And the culture of the place really was, it was pretty lackadaisical. It was very not disciplined, not focused. They'd never had anything like this before. And so, I ran into a lot of people who didn't really appreciate my hard-nosed tactics and kind of the direction that I wanted to go. And but I think that the biggest thing is that the coaches were 100% on board, and if I had issues with anyone, then there was definitely discipline action taken, and we kind of set the tone early. And I remember there's a receiver in the NFL right now, Tyrell Williams, who he has said many times, his redshirt freshman year, I wasn't here, and he said, I came in and I slept on the benches, and it was a big joke. It wasn't, I never did anything. And then, he said, I remember the day you came in, and he said, I knew that, number one, we were in for it, but number two, I knew that we were going to start having results and seeing results from what you were going to do. And I think that's where the culture changed, is from day one. From day one, it was going to be my rules, my policies, because I was by myself the first year. And I remember actually public safety, they came in the first month or two that I was here, and they said, we're so glad you're here, because now there's there's an organizational structure, and I don't have to worry about checking on the place all the time and seeing who's in the weight room, who's not supposed to be in the weight room, And so it really went from kind of a free for all to now it's very organized. It's very, it's not a free for all. It's we have times for lifting. It's done as professionally, and it's probably, as some of the athletes say, it's more, it's run more organized than any other, as any other team, program, whatever. It's a department, and that's what that's what I'm most proud of, is how far that's come.
Well, that's awesome, Coach, and I can tell you're fired up about this, the change that's been there, and it sounds like you've got it going on. So that's great info. So the kind of one of the taglines or themes of this show, is making the big time where you're at, and just being able to be resourceful and make these kids feel special. So maybe what is one unique way that you're making the big time where you're at there?
Well, I think we have a very limited budget for our department, and so the biggest thing that we kind of implemented to make them feel like they're big. Our weight room does not look that nice, but one of the biggest things that we implemented is that every sport wears their Western Oregon gear. Most sports, they match. When they come in, they have to wear the matching stuff, and the room is completely organized and set up the way it's supposed to be. And when they are done with it, they have to put it back the way it's supposed to be, so that there's a sense of pride in what it looks like. It may not be the best room, but it is going to be the best that it can be. And they're going to take pride in that. They're going to put away their dumbbells. They're going to put the clips back on the bar. The bars are going to be at the same level when they're done. And those are all things that I think make them take pride in the room, and learn that discipline and focus in here. And the other thing that we've done is that we partnered with Gatorade now, so they get Gatorade supplements, and we try to have the latest technology with videoing, and we have a screen on the wall, computerized, that we can show their movements. Once I video them, they can put it on the wall and they can see what they just did. And so I think, making the most out of the little resources that we have, is networking and working with, anyone on campus that's willing to work with us and partnering with us, and making everyone on campus, realize what we do in here, that it's not just a hodgepodge of they come in and work out. It's a real structured, periodized program that the athletes are going to get better. They're going to get in trouble. There's a lot of professors that say, if I have an issue with a student athlete, all I have to do is tell them that I'm going to go talk to Coach Metzgar, and that usually turns them around. So, that's just something that, and it's not a fear of getting in trouble. It's a fear of disappointment. And I think that that's a huge, huge part of getting athletes to buy in, is that they have to know that someone cares about them, knows what they're doing, but cares about them enough to know what they're doing outside of the weight room, outside of the field or the court. And I think that that's what has made them, really buy in and really feel like they're special to me, because they are. Each one of these kids is so special to me.
That's powerful, and I want to go back to something you said real quick. Something I need to do better here, just to be honest, is being a little bit more connected to the rest of the college. So could you give just maybe an example of maybe a relationship you have with some faculty, maybe how that started, kind of what that relationship looks like?
Yeah, the exercise science department, especially the chair of the exercise science department, she's awesome. She actually was a head athletic trainer for football before she went into academia, but she was the first one that I went to, and everyone said, you're not going to get along with her. She doesn't support athletics. But she was the first one that I went to 8 years ago and developed a very good relationship with. And so from there, like I said before, the student strength and conditioning program, I get, volunteers to do that. And now they're able to do their practicum and their internships in here. And so I'm able to get more help because I can get help through her. She also she pays for 30% of my repair budget. So, anything that needs to be repaired, the bikes or the Versa climbers or whatever, she'll pay for 30% of that. So and she also knows that, that if she needs someone to teach a weight training class, my assistant can, is qualified to teach that. So it just has that. I think that was the biggest one, is developing that relationship with her. So she knew what we were doing over here, what we were trying to do, that it wasn't just about, moving some steel. It's truly about teaching and mentoring and developing these kids outside of the weight room.
Awesome. That's really, really powerful, and that's great advice. So what is a way that maybe you're optimizing your training? I mean, we're all in a situation that we got a lot of athletes, limited staff, limited time. Are there any resources you're using there that helps you optimize that time and workflow?
Yeah, what I found when I got here was that we have a very tiny budget, and we have hardly any extra equipment. And so, we didn't have a Vertimax. We don't have band attachments. So we have the oldest rack seat probably around. And so what I did was, with that, the first couple of years of budget, was I spent most of it on bands. And so I've just developed, and that was probably what you saw at my presentation at the CSCCA convention, was developing hip horizontal force concepts with bands. Yeah. And so that has been the biggest thing, is just expanding on any band movements that we can do for glute activation, hip power, triple extension, hamstring activation. So we use ankle bands plus the big bands for all of that. And that has added, as someone, I spoke on it last spring as well. And someone, after the presentation, someone asked me, if you leave there and you go to somewhere that has everything you ever need, would you still incorporate these band movements? And I said 100% yes. They've been a huge part of the development of these athletes, in my opinion.
And I second that, because we do a lot of band stuff here as well. And I took a lot of stuff from your presentation there and implemented it with our athletes. And it's just a way that it's cost effective, and you just need some space. Yeah. And that's something that we do have here at Jewel, is some space to use it. And it's a great tool to have in your toolbox. There's no doubt.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So maybe let's talk a little bit about a hurdle you've had since you've been there at Western Oregon, or maybe before, and how have you overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I think I touched on it a little bit before. A big hurdle is just the perception that that females cannot work with male sports. I think that that's always going to be a hurdle in any industry. But I think that the way that I've kind of overcome that hurdle is that it's about what you know and how you're presented. I mean, you can know a lot, but you don't put it out into an organized program. It's not going to work. So it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you're not going to have success. And so I think it's about, like I said before, understanding the sport that you're working with, having a good relationship with those coaches, and putting forth the best program, an organized program that you can put forth. And I think, I remember the first meeting I had with football here in the weight room when I first got here. It was with the O-line and D-line, and they stared at me like I had horns, and then once, 2 days later, they, went through 2 or 3 workouts, and they realized that it was way better than what they had before. And I think then they don't even look at me as a female anymore. I'm just Coach Metzgar. I'm just another part of the staff, and I'm the only female that travels with football. But I don't think that that's ever anything that anyone even thinks about anymore. It's just there's Coach Metzgar, and so I think that hurdle, comes up every once in a while, but it's something that you can't pay much attention to it. You have to be confident in your abilities and your ability to lead and your ability to problem solve, and your ability to put forth a good program.
Awesome. What's next for you and your vision for the program there, maybe in the next, 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think I'm really excited about it here because we got a very my new assistant was able to get a very generous donor from his time down in Texas, and he's going to donate up to a certain amount in whatever is matched. So we are hopefully getting new flooring, inlay platforms and new flooring here, which is this flooring in here is probably at least 30 years old. Wow. And so we are hoping to get that done. So that will really help the aesthetics of the room, probably the smell of the room as well. In the last 3 years, we have been able to demo. So we were under the weight room, or under the stadium. The weight room is under the stadium bleachers, and it's broken up into 2 parts. One part was the weight room, and one part was half classroom and half storage. And we were able to get all of that out of here and put in turf back here. So now half of the weight room is regular weight room, and then the other half is indoor turf. And so now the next thing after this is a new weight room. It's kind of on the list. We're hoping to find out in the next year if we're going to be getting a new weight room. So awesome. That's going to be huge for this place because it's there's only now there's 2 D2 universities in Oregon and only one with football. And so that's a big selling point. So then if we can have, even nicer facilities, then it will help us with recruiting. And so it'd be fun to help design that too. So
if you don't mind, what's your pitch to administration when they ask you, why do we need a new weight room? Do you sell the recruiting? Do you sell safety? I mean, what are the things you're really selling?
I think both. I think functionality is a big part. Right now, we can't have a whole team. Well, I shouldn't say that. We can't. We have all of baseball in here at times, and that's 45 guys. So programming really comes into play and being organized. But I think the biggest thing is the recruiting aspect, and our president is amazing, and he is a very big supporter of athletics, and he knows that we need a new facility to recruit kids here. And so he's very much the driver of this. And so I really didn't have to pitch it much because he's very bright, very, a really good person. And so I think that I think safety was a big thing, safety and security of the room, but also recruiting. So those would be probably the two main things.
Awesome. How about you as a coach? What are you excited about learning and improving on in the next year?
I think I'm having this new assistant. He was at Texas Tech and then at TXL training facility in Lubbock. Having him here has kind of infused me with excitement of new stuff. And so I think for me, just learning a little bit more on how to make the athletes that we get, make them be even better, and how we can do that in a very orderly, efficient way, I think is, I'm very into complex training and, for time, but also for our style of play in most of our sports. And so I'm just really excited to find even more movements that will help with that, and glute activation, hip power, hip mobility, just to really try to decrease the injuries that we have, and keep moving forward.
Awesome, Coach. This has been great. I mean, I've got a page and a half of notes, and I've taken a lot of great stuff from this. So let's wrap it up. We'll just do 4 quick questions, and then we'll get you going for the day. So first one here is, what is your favorite book?
Well, lately it's the one that just came out with the Legends of Strength and Conditioning.
Okay. Number 2, favorite office snack.
Favorite office snack, pistachios.
I got a bag of those on my desk as well. That's good. All right. Number 3, if you've got 15 minutes to train for yourself, what are you doing?
It's going to include Olympic lifts and VersaClimber.
VersaClimber. I've never been on a VersaClimber, but I've heard it's
You
interesting.
haven't?
No.
Oh my gosh. It's the best thing in the whole entire world.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. All right, so your last one, small school strength coach who who just does an outstanding job and deserves a shout out.
Michael Silvernagel, University of Mary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, this has been awesome, and I really appreciate you coming on. We will put your contact info on all the show notes, so if our listeners want to reach out to you. But other than that, good luck the rest of the spring, and I know you guys are in finals right now, and I hope you have a great spring break and spring ball and all that. So good luck with everything, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thanks.